Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. We're going to talk about Bru McCoy, an injury update. We're going to talk about who could possibly fill his shoes during this season, eligibility remaining. We're going to talk about his great catch against Bama. And this is a tough loss. Bru McCoy's our best wide receiver. There's really no arguing it. He's our toughest wide receiver. He's Mr. Third Down. When you need something clutch in the big moments, you go to Bru McCoy. That's just the way it is. And if you don't think that's the case, watch this. Yeah, Hendon went to him when he had to have him, and he made one of the greatest catches in Tennessee history. I'm not going to call it the best catch ever because that would probably have to go in the Georgia game by Josh Dobbs to Juwan Jennings. That catch was unbelievable. That was just magical. But the catch against Bama that led to the field goal that helicoptered in, and the rest is history, was amazing, and Bru was a huge part of that, and we're going to talk all about it. But let's get into the Bru McCoy injury update. Okay, and this is in ESPN by Adam Rittenberg. He did go through season-ending surgery Sunday morning. He fractured his right ankle, and I believe he dislocated as well. He said his lower right ankle bent awkwardly when he was tackled by South Carolina, and, you know, it didn't. It looked really bad. And the diagnosis was a fractured dislocation of the ankle. It says, Bru and his family appreciate all your prayers and support since last night and the days ahead. Bru has displayed unwavering toughness, character, and leadership as a Vol on and off the field. He now begins his road to recovery, determined to make this just a minor setback in his football journey. He is a senior, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his eligibility and NFL, etc. He was the second leading receiver this year and definitely the toughest. He was actually a five-star recruit back in 2019. He went to USC for a couple of years, almost went to Texas, and then wound up coming to Tennessee, and the rest has been pretty much history since then. And then in an article by Mike Wilson of the Knoxville News-Sentinel, which I grew up reading the Knoxville News-Sentinel. I'm sure most of you did too. We used to fight over the sports page back in the day between my two brothers and my dad, and it was always a battle. Who got the sports page out of the Sunday paper. I'm sure many of you have those stories as well. And Josh Heupel said, I hate what happened to Bru. We'll have more of an update tomorrow or Monday. Everybody saw it was lower body injury. He said, didn't look good. He said, there's nobody better than him. And then they talked about whether he has any eligibility left, and I was pretty sure he did because of COVID. He has a year of eligibility remaining, could return it to Tennessee in 2024. He redshirted at USC in 2019, spent 2 seasons there, transferred to UT. He's in his second season with the Vols. Extra year of eligibility due to COVID, which essentially means that McCoy was in his third year of college eligibility in 2023. And they talked about folks that could replace him. You're not going to replace him. Look, Bru McCoy, I'm telling you, that guy's a baller, and he's a gamer. And you're not going to replace him. You're just going to have to do the best you can. And this happens. It just unfortunately did. It happened with Hendon Hooker last year in the South Carolina game. And it was crushing, really. Hendon was just a terrible loss. And this is a bad loss, too, especially the way it went out. Gosh, it was just hard to look at. Just a huge amount of oxygen went out of the entire stadium when that happened. Talked about he was our leading returning receiver. And I tried to do some research in a fractured, dislocated ankle, and there's all kinds of information out there. And unless you know the exact diagnosis, it's really tough to know how long he will be out, the long-term prognosis, all that kind of stuff. But let's just go with the real general stuff that you can see on Google. And it simply says recovery from a fractured or dislocated foot or ankle can take anywhere from 6 weeks to more than a year, depending on the severity of the injury. Staying off the ankle and rest are crucial in allowing you to heal as quickly as possible. Now, 2 things. They went ahead and did surgery right away. That's typically, from what I can research, the best thing to do. Now, he's going to have tons of physical therapy. You know, this guy is an elite athlete. A lot of times, how well a patient does has a lot to do with how hard they work at their injury and trying to get it better. He will, of course, be a grinder. That's just who he is. Athletes on this level are, you know, they heal quickly. And they usually work really hard to get better. But that was pretty severe injury. So, like I said, anywhere from 6 weeks, which it won't be 6 weeks based on what I could see, I wouldn't think. It's going to be several months. And whether he can come back 100%, hopefully he can. It depends on the patient. It depends on the injury. It depends on all that stuff. And also, whether or not he'd want to come back and play for the Vols one more year, or whether he'd want to simply get ready for the draft and focus on that. And, you know, kind of the way, even though Hendon didn't have any eligibility left, he focused on getting ready for the draft. And even though he wasn't able to run for all the pre-draft process, you know, he had enough work out on the field that people could tell what he could do. And he wound up going in the 3rd round. Look, the knee hurt him. He'd have gone late 1st round probably had he been 100%. And it'll be interesting to see what McCoy does. See, he might come back to UT for a season just to prove, hey, I'm back 100%. You know, if you draft me, you're drafting the right guy, et cetera. Or he might say, you know what, I don't want to risk another injury. I'm going to go ahead and try to cash in. He is an NFL quality player, no doubt. He's a guy that's going to play on Sundays. He would be a fantastic 3rd down specialist. He's really tough. He runs with aggression. He's a great athlete. He's fast. He's quick. He's all those things. And he's got incredibly good hands, because when Joe Milton throws that 100-mile-an-hour fastball, nobody catches it better than Bru. He's just got great hands. So it will be very interesting to see what he does. Whatever he decides is fine with me. If he wants to come back for a year, I'm sure everybody in Vol Nation will, you know, welcome him back in for that last season, and it'd be awesome. If he wants to go to the NFL, that is totally fine with me. I'm sure a lot of you folks feel that way too, given the circumstances. So hopefully he has a nice full recovery. It doesn't last more than, you know, 3 or 6 months. If it lasts a year, so be it. That's what it takes. But we'll all be hoping for the best for him. And he's going to get a ton of support, just exactly the way Hendon Hooker did, you know, and I think that's great. So anyway, that's an update on Bru McCoy. I wanted to do something on this, but I didn't have enough information until today, and to kind of, you know, see the articles and then do a little bit of research. Anyway, I know all of you folks are out there hoping for a full recovery for the young man, and he has a great NFL career. And if he comes back to UT for a year, that's great too. He will absolutely be welcomed. 1,000%, especially by Coach Heupel, and having Nico throwing the ball next year. And as far as who can replace him for the remainder of the season, the last 7 games of regular season, that is, the names that we're hearing obviously are Caleb Webb, who has showed out pretty well. I know there's been discussion of Chaz Nimrod, who's been getting some playing time. Nathan Leacock is a true freshman, a very talented guy. I don't know that he'll see the field very much. But there's a couple of sophomores that I think would be the obvious choice. And then, of course, you've also got Dante Thornton, who was out this last game. But if he's able to recover, and I think he probably will, he'll be able to play against Texas A&M. He'd be a pretty obvious choice as well. So we do have 3 fine athletes there. They're not, you know, look, Bru is a special character out there, man. I'm telling you, he's just a gamer. He's kind of a Jawan Jennings, honestly, which is the type of guy you love having on the field. But anyway, that's sort of an update. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols, SEC, all our opponents, all that stuff. If you have not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button right there. Cost you nothing. Will help you get my videos, and it's just a piece of cake. And right over here is most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.